Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we do have snow and ice warnings issued today and tomorrow. We'll then have a look at the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, and we'll have a look at the wind gusts as well, as it could be turning very stormy to end the year. We haven't got warnings issued yet, and I do think that is because, of course, it is Christmas, so Met Office staff or anything like that, but I do expect tomorrow, maybe on Wednesday as well, we'll start to see warnings issued for perhaps Friday, where we do see quite a severe low moving in. Could be some very gusty winds, maybe 60, 70 miles per hour widely, maybe higher towards coastal areas. We'll have a look at the GFS, GEM, Eastern WF and the ensembles. Have a look at what's coming over the next few weeks, as I said. So it's looking likely to be quite unsettled to end the year. And as we head into early January, could be unsettled initially, but it does look likely higher pressure could try and move up from the south for a time into sort of the middle of the first week of January, maybe giving us an inversion, colder, drier conditions, perhaps even heading northwards, maybe even giving us colder weather towards the middle of January, but that is all speculative, longer range stuff at this stage. The most likely scenario is generally average to maybe slightly above average temperatures and relatively unsettled conditions. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, to start on the live radar, you can see there is widespread precipitation around at the moment, with quite a bit of it falling as snow or a wintry mix through northern and western areas. Again, you can't rely on these precipitation types too much, as they can be quite inconsistent sometimes, but here you can say most of this precipitation in the north and west has a wintry flavour over the hills and perhaps to low-lying areas in the heavier bursts as well. Now, those showers, as I said, are mainly in the north and west, but may push inland for a time. And the general feel out there is cold. It's a polar maritime air mass, so it is a relatively cold air mass, but originating from a maritime direction, so from the North Atlantic, has been moderated quite a bit at the surface, and that's why it's not bitterly cold out there. It's just a generally cold feel and slightly below average on the thermometer. But widespread wintry showers, some of these areas over higher ground could see some accumulations this evening. Now, if you look at the temperatures, widely cold, but not especially cold. Lighter blues across Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England, especially over the higher ground. Again, temperatures in the low single digits. Elsewhere, mid to maybe high single digits, maybe sort of 5, 6, 7 degrees. Locally, a couple of degrees higher or lower than that. So a generally cold feel, colder than average, but nothing especially cold. And it is only really for today. It's going to be turning milder tomorrow as weather fronts arrive. Now, if you go to the weather warnings, you can see there is a eclectic mix of snow and ice warnings. Again, I don't think we're going to go through these all individually because there's quite a mix here, and it's a gripe I have sometimes with the Met Office warnings. They've got all these little warnings issued, and on the website it just really goes into a bit of a mess, really. But anywhere in Northern England, Scotland, and perhaps into Northern Ireland as well, could see some wintriness, some snow and maybe some ice as well, and these warnings continue into Tuesday as well. Again, a few centimetres of snow is possible, but the main risk will be ice, where wintry showers, rain, sleet or snow fall and then freeze overnight into the early hours of the morning, meaning there is an ice risk. So we won't go into these in detail, but there is a widespread yellow snow and ice risk for many areas in the north and the west. Again, nothing too unusual for this time of year, but being the festive period, people out for walks and travelling, it could be slightly disruptive in places. But as I said, it is turning milder from Wednesday, and if you go to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, you can see over the course of this evening, those showers still pushing in, but they do start to reduce over the course of the early hours of tomorrow. And then we see a weather front bump in from the west. Could be some heavier snow for a time through Tuesday afternoon, and that's where we still have that snow and ice warning issued, but it should turn more to rain through the afternoon into the evening as that freezing level does start to rise. So most areas will start to fall as rain. It's rain elsewhere, but that rain eventually does spread away through Tuesday evening, so quite a soggy day tomorrow. Not particularly pleasant, and will start to turn a bit gusty, but nothing especially gusty yet. Into Wednesday, another low pressure system arrives. This could be a little bit more severe, more widespread, heavier rain, less snow within this, a bit over the higher ground, but again, nothing too unusual for this time of year, and plenty of gusty winds and heavy showers falling behind it. As we head into Friday, still some wintry showers around and generally heavier showers around through Thursday, but Thursday's a generally drier day in terms of no frontal rainfall. As we head into Friday, though, a big low moves in, heavy snow initially, and some very heavy squally rain within this as well. And you can see from the big mass and brighter colours here, showing the intensity of this lower pressure system. And this could be a named storm later this week. That is something we need to keep an eye on. Different models have it to different intensities. And as it heads through the north and the east, eventually it does clear, but will be very blustery and stormy with it. Now, if you put on those wind speeds, you can see by sort of Tuesday into Wednesday, there could be some stronger gusts, 40, 50 miles per hour, definitely on the coast, maybe coming inland at times, maybe even 60 miles per hour. But it's as we head towards Friday, for 30th of December, look at very strong low pressure system move through widely, 60 miles per hour towards the coast, maybe 70 and maybe 50 or 60 inland as well. Again, definitely warranted probably of yellow warnings here, maybe amber warnings towards the coast, and perhaps a named storm risk as you can see 60, 70 miles per hour towards the Isle of Wight there. Very strong gusty winds, and then again another low can move through towards the end of the month. So yeah, could be quite horrible conditions later this week. So if you are travelling, make sure you keep an eye on the warnings and the forecast as well, as there could be some very disruptive weather. Again, the wind speeds for this all depend on the exact pressure level of the system, the exact movement of it, the exact direction and positioning, which all could subtly change. So it will be strong winds later this week, but whether it's 50 or 60 miles per hour and slightly disruptive, or 70 and 80 miles per hour and potentially very disruptive, we can't say for certain yet, as it's still sort of 3 or 4 days away. So we'll have to see what happens, but I'm sure we'll pinpoint it in the next few days and the warnings will soon be issued. Now, if we do go to the temperatures, you can see today, relatively cold day, temperatures around that sort of 4 to 7 degrees. Overnight to night, temperatures dropping away to freezing in many areas in the north and the east, down to sort of 1 or 2 degrees. And by Tuesday afternoon, once again, maybe 8 to 10 degrees, so slightly milder than today. Temperatures will be flip-flopping quite a bit with the weather fronts coming through, of course, powered by strong temperature contrasts. They will inevitably have strong cold fronts and warm fronts, so big pockets of warm and cold air. And you can see by Wednesday afternoon, we're back into cold air in the north. Through Thursday afternoon, though, you can see those temperatures dipping down again, 5 to 7 degrees in the south, colder in the north. And then by Friday, milder in the south and the east, maybe 12 degrees, colder in the north. And that's just flip-flopping. So again, just keep an eye on the weather apps, as they'll be relatively accurate with these temperatures. Again, it's not too important because we're not sort of looking at snowfall or anything like that, where 1 degree makes a big difference, but very much up and down. And again, will be cold on some days, slightly milder on others. Again, it will just be a general feel like nothing too substantial. Now, if you go to the longer range, just quickly move through these and have a look at the latest from the GFS. Look at the 6 o'clock run. Again, westerly, turning very stormy perhaps towards the end of this week. You see these lows being picked up by the jet stream, going very unsettled, and eventually high pressure starts to build in for early January. Again, not making too much of an influence initially, just blocking the lows out in the Atlantic before slowly building over the top, and then trying to put an easterly wind in there right towards the end of the run, but again, not putting anything majorly cold at this stage. If we look at the GEM, see how that does compare. Again, a westerly wind at the moment, low pressure running in, turning quite unsettled, and then eventually high pressure tries to build in, but again, doesn't do much other than just push the storm track back further northwards. And again, we'll have to keep an eye on what happens into January. But from the GEM here, stormy for the next 5 to 7 days, and then settling down a little bit in the south, staying unsettled in the north as that storm track pushes northwards. If we look at the ECMWF, you see again, westerly flow at the moment, staying very unsettled. High pressure eventually starts to build in, but again, stays mainly to our south and east, not influencing us all too much initially, but could make more of an appearance into January. Now, if you go over the ensembles, you can see cold at the moment, but turning more towards average, if not above average, to end the month and start January 2023. But you can see it's very unsettled to end the year and start 2023 with a lot of precipitation spikes, but they do die down from around the 5th of January onwards. Again, indicative of high pressure building in, but perhaps an inversion, so I won't look at those temperatures in the long term too literally. If we have a look at the ECMWF, compared to those, you can see again, generally around, slightly above, slightly below average over the course of the next few days. Very unsettled towards the end of the month and start of January with a lot of precipitation. And then eventually it turns drier, with temperatures rising under the high pressure and turning a little bit less unsettled as well. But again, no concrete signal, but it's something we need to keep an eye on the longer term. So for the time being, it's cold today and perhaps tomorrow still in the north, but it is looking likely that it's going to be turning very unsettled and stormy towards the end of this week, and perhaps to start January as well, before high pressure does start to build in, which could introduce some dry conditions, but perhaps colder as well. And we've got to keep an eye for the middle of January, perhaps for maybe blocking returning. But again, that is still speculative and longer range stuff. No signs of anything majorly cold at this stage. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying your Christmas period and your bank holiday, and I'll see you again for another video soon.